back to Sledgehammer Horror, guys. I am Ken Sledge, and let's talk horror. Today, I am super lucky, not only because I am joined by the super talented Dave Sheridan. Dave, how you doing today, man?
Hey, man, I'm doing great. Thanks, Sledgehammer. Are you Sledgehammer?
I am Ken Sledge. It's where Sledgehammer Horror came from. It's funny when I start telling people, they never know that my last name is actually Sledge.
And that's a real last name?
That's a real last name.
Why you should have got into porn? I don't know what happened.
The name is good. The ability is not, so they wouldn't let me.
Yeah, or like a private detective or something like that. Ken
Right.
Sledge.
You can see me in a total like Dick Tracy outfit.
Exactly.
Speaking of being a private detective officer, you were Special Officer Doofy, who should have been the new president, Doofy 2020.
Well, hold on. The count. Look, man, we don't know what. Right now, I don't have the resources for the lawyers and the lawsuits, because we usually handle Doofy. The way he handles things is he kills people. So let's just see what happens. All I gotta say is this to my opponents: President Trump, Vice President and President-elect Biden. Watch your back. I'm in the house.
And the count's not over yet.
Yeah, I'm gonna gut you like a fish.
So
that's right.
So you were the one that did the voice for that in Scary Movie, correct?
I did. Yeah.
It's so cool hearing you do it now. Like, it's super, super rad to me, man.
Well, I'm gonna grab something over here. I just shot.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm gonna be appearing at Spooky Empire December 11th and 12th. So about a month from now. And so they always, all these, the conventions have you do a little announcement. And I always try to, I can't just a lot of my friends just hold the phone going, hey, Spooky Empire, can't wait to see you, which is all good. But I operate at a little bit of a more higher level. It's one of the reasons I don't do stand-up comedy, because stand-up comedians tend to do a routine. A routine is like the same thing over and over again. So every time you see whoever at the, where are you out of? Where are you at?
I'm in Michigan.
Michigan, yeah, that'd be like the Funny Bone or something like that.
The Funny Bone, yes, sir.
I bet you it is. And I also don't want to play places that are called the Funny Bone in the first place. But I worked stand-up comedian, stand-up places. When I say I work, like a waiter or a bar back, and I just I couldn't stand the smell of comedy places because it's always that stale nacho chip tray thing that they serve. You know what I mean? And it's like, and I'm the guy that made those things, and that grossed me out. I know what I was making for people to eat. And sure. So my problem is I couldn't get up there and do stand up and then like having people like, ha ha ha. I'd be like, oh, stop eating that. I made it. That's part of it. Really, it is. When I walk into a stand-up location, because I love seeing stand-up comedians, but when I go, that smell, it's that kind of thing of like, those like when you go to visit your grandmother's house and there was that smell and you'd be like, oh, grandmother's house, or ooh, grandmother's house, Yeah. But hey,
now
really quick.
You got PTSD from the comedy clubs.
Exactly, I kind of do, but at the same time, there's routines, and I would see stand-up comedians come in and, oh yeah, I saw that bit before. Oh, I know that bit. And now that there's YouTube, you go, oh yeah, I've seen these bits, and I've heard it on the 5 o'clock funnies on the radio, and I like. To me, it's like I'm not good at memorizing stuff. I improvise. In the movies, I make up stuff on the fly all the time.
Sure.
And I'm more of the spur of the moment kind of funny guy, not a guy that gets up there and has a routine. And so I don't know. I've never approached stand-up comedian. There are stand-up comedians that do that. What I'm saying, like Jeff Garland will go up and he doesn't know what he's going to say, which is great. But I've never spent the time it takes to hone that and break that in, because at the same time, that
total improv on stage.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But that's why I did the Second City instead. The Second City in Chicago, that's an improv theater. They do the shows they put up at Second City, like on the main stage, which I helped direct one. The the actual bits, the sketches are created through improv, and then they're honed, and then they're tightened up. But so there are, in a sense, those are scripted because those are written, but they're also open on a daily basis for the actors to find something new. But then there's also pure improv games or pure improv scenes that were with a suggestion from the audience and stuff, that they create stuff as well. And that's like at the Second City, that's the format. But there's also like Improv Olympics, which have nothing to do with improv games. They do a Herald, which is they'll take like 3 suggestions, and then they'll do like a 1 hour long form based on the suggestions that they hear. But they do a lot of individual scenes, but they're completely making that up on the fly every night. So that's pretty interesting. I love going to that stuff as well.
Sure.
But again, they still have the nacho cheese smell, or the pretzel basket or whatever.
Right.
You know what I mean? So hold on, I'm gonna get something.
Yeah, absolutely, man. While Dave's getting this, I want to let everybody know this is our lucky episode number 100 today. So this is something for me that is super important. And to have someone like Dave on here, someone I very truly respect, someone that's made an impact on my life. I can't tell you how many times I've quoted him as that Officer Doofy throughout my life, making those quotes up. So this is something for me. Doing episode 100 is big enough for me, but to have someone like Dave here to do this with is super important to me. So Dave is back. Thank you so much, man.
Ken, you didn't tell me it was 100.
Yes.
I think I would have been, I was like a couple minutes late. So I didn't know that. 100. Well, congratulations. You look good for your podcast age.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. And
so,
a question I have for you.
Hold on, because you were, this is the mask. This is the scary movie mask that I wore, the ghost face mask. And because I actually shot a thing today where I put it on for the little announcement for Spooky Empire. And one of the things was an actual like makeup artist guy who's working on me replicating this mask. He found that it actually says Dave on the inside.
Oh, that's awesome.
Of the thing right there. If you can see it, Dave.
Yeah.
So because I was like, oh, that's proof it's my mask. But the big difference between, say, the scary movie mask and the other Scream masks there you go. That's a Scream mask. Look, if you look at my mouth, it's rounder, right? That's one of the big things. But it wasn't that way in the first scene we did. The first scene we did, this was actually tight together. I'll see if I can make it go together like this. And it was, now if you could see that, imagine that looks more like the Scream mask, right? When it's elongated. Yeah. But so now your Scream mask, you have fabric here, but the mouth is plastic, right? Yeah. And so the whole structure is held together because it's plastic there. But see, I did the voice live. And so after shooting one day with the plastic mouth, that looked a lot more like that one because it was long like that, right? It the sound guy couldn't hear me because it was muffling what I was saying. So then the next day they cut this out and they put fabric in here. So if you could see, that's actually fabric too. From behind, let's see.
And is that how it started to mold over because it didn't have the plastic in there?
Exactly. That's what widened it out. And then you put it on my head and that widened out more. So, but that was because I was doing the voice live. And they wanted to be able to get as much they could. We did do some ADR later on and we added some other stuff in. However, most of it was on set live, and that's the way comedy works. You want to have the actor, and if they're shooting something, it's more important. Like let's let them. We want to hear it, you know. And so because it costs money to go back in and ADR stuff, that's just extra money. And if you can get it while you're on set, the audio, get it. And that's my rule to filmmakers out there. But it's a really cool mask because it's handmade, it's hand painted. It's like, and there's like right there, you can see some blood. Like right there,
right under the eye.
Yeah, there's still blood from some of the scenes I did and stuff like that on here. It's pretty cool, but it's pretty beat up and it's really fragile because it's hand poured and handmade and kind of falling apart a little bit. So I try not to put it on too much, but I'm talking to somebody in the business, another guy that does this kind of special effects stuff where he has a laser 3D modeler where we would set that under lasers and they would model it so that I would have a positive out of a 3D printer. And then we can make a reversal of that so that we have molds to remake this. Right. And one for me, so I can have one, so I can put this away but still have one on display. Mm-hmm. And then also maybe I might make a deal with somebody to like put them out, because when I started, I wore it in a couple little pieces for a couple of these podcasts, and I saw some comments being like, "Oh, I want one. I'll buy one." You know, so
I would totally buy one,
because people have tried to put them out. I've seen a guy in France make them from like him not having access to this, but none of them are correct, like exact. So this thing would be the exact one that I wore, and I think there's only two. There was only two ever made, and I don't know if the other one exists. That was like what a stunt double wore in two scenes. I had a stunt double for two scenes. One was the stairs going down the staircase, and the other one was the final kick through the window, that sort of Michael Myers through the window thing. Yeah, and I'm gone. And those were the two that they didn't let me do. One was mainly because of in the stunt with the piano, that was a real piano, even though it was on a cable. Anything could happen. I could trip on the rope and hurt myself. But also there was an old lady that I take and a bicycle, and I throw an old lady. And that old lady was a real old lady. She was real. I mean, she wasn't that old. She was probably 50, maybe 60 years old at the time. So she's probably dead now. Yeah. Anyway, God bless her. So, but yeah, when you do something with another actor or another stunt person, they usually like to have another professional stunt person working with another professional stunt person, not the actor in a mask who breaks the lady's, her hip breaks, and then they're blaming me, you know? So, right. And the other one through the glass, that was what's called a one and done, where they only had the availability and the time and the money to say, hey man, this thing has to work. Whatever happens here happens, because we're sending a guy through a plate of glass. Right. And it was a type of glass where they hit a button and they explode the glass right before the actor actually touches it, you know? Okay. So, yeah. It was real glass. That's awesome. When they use real glass in that thing, and they have these like little like hammers on like, you know, like hydraulics that'll pop and just smash the glass. Versus like a sugar glass, you couldn't make a sugar glass that smooth and that flat and that big. So bottles you can make out of like sugar glass, but candy glass. Yeah. So even like the scenes where like you're getting high talking on the phone with Shorty, that was you doing the voice live there? Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, dude, that is so awesome. I love it. That's another reason I love doing this with you guys, is because I love any behind the scenes stuff I can learn. It's so much fun to learn these things about you guys, and just knowing that you did a lot of that live on the spot rather than ADR. That's so cool, man. I think it's in that around that same scene where we're getting high. I'm smoking a thing, and we changed different masks. I do have the other masks as well, but they're put away. I've got the other ones as well, and I do a rap. And I'm doing a rap, and I'm making it, and then I look around and I've killed everybody. And I improvised that rap song. That like what my rap was just me. I made it up on the fly, and I actually didn't even remember it. And then they said, "Oh man, we want you to record that rap and add another like lyric, add another whole phrase to it." So because we did go in the studio and record a song, you know, the Ghostface Killer song. And so I doubled up those lyrics, and actually I think Marlon helped write the second half of the lyrics, and he basically that's at the end of the song, end of the movie. So when the credits are rolling, that's me rapping as the killer in the thing. So
all I can remember,
it was kind of funny because when I'm improvising it,
got another hole in your ass.
Yeah, exactly. Fuck you. I think it was like fuck you like a goat, you know, something with your throat. I don't remember it really, but I just tried to like. I did have a moment to jot some things down, but it was just more like I just want it to be the worst sounding thing in the world, you know, like just brutal, you know. So so I thought that was funny. You know, and of course like rap music at that time was the gangster gang bang music, you know what I mean? And so I just think like it fit that as well, because it was kind of hardcore rap at the time,
Mm-hmm.
So, but I didn't know how like improvising that rap song would turn into recording a song, So,
Right. Next thing you know, you're gonna put out a whole album.
yeah, I should. Yeah, a Christmas album, Christmas with the Killer. Christmas.
Christmas Ghostface Killer. There you go.
Yeah.
That's so legit. So you've also done, I mean, like the scary movies, obviously, and then you did Haunted House 1 and 2, but
That's
you
right.
have done legit horror movies, like The Devil's Rejects. You were Officer Hobson in that, or Dobson,
Yep.
I'm sorry. And then you have a couple horror movies coming out that you're working on right now. Is there anything you can tell us about those that you got coming up?
Well, there are some that are out right now. The one I really like, and I wouldn't call it a horror movie, it's more like a Cronenberg kind of, and it's like a throwback to like The Fly. So I would say it's a creature type of movie, and it's called The Special, and that you can rent on VOD on any. I think it's on every platform, whether it's Apple, Amazon, Time Warner, Spectrum, and it's called The Special, and it's about it. I play the enabler, or the guy that kind of gets the whole thing going. I'm the buddy in the movie, so I have a role through it. Another guy named Davey Raphael plays the lead, very good in it, and it's basically about his wife. He suspects his wife of cheating with him. I'm his buddy at the bar, and I'm like, don't even, you got to get even. A marriage is about it being equal. So I said, let's go and get your nut bust. And I take him to a fortune teller place that's actually like a front for a whorehouse, but I order him the special, and the special is like a dick in the box thing, where he basically puts his penis in a hole in a box, and there's some creature in there that gives him the best sex ever, and he wants to know. But I make him wear a bag over his head, because I like, you can never come back to this place, and then he wants to know where it is. I don't tell him where it is. He tracks down. Eventually he finds out where it is. He has sex with it again. They bust him. The madam's like, get out. You've been here before. You can't do it more than once. And then he accidentally kills her. And then he steals the box, and he goes to this like seedy motel where he's having a love affair with this thing that's in the box, while he's cheating on his wife with this, but he's covering it all up. And eventually he's getting like sick, and he's got sores. And eventually the thing is kind of making weird noises, and he cuts the box open, and it's just this disgusting orby thing, and it's dying. And so I don't want to get into the whole thing because I'll be giving it all away, but I like it. It's a small movie. We made it for like under $100,000. But it's and it's only got, it's myself, Davey Raphael, Sarah French, and a couple other actors. So really, it's only 3 or 4 actors in the whole film, and I like it a lot. I think it's a pretty cool film. So that one I think will be enjoyable for people that are if you're into that kind of disgusting horror thing. But if you're also into independent movies, like American Beauty, or like like a Alexander Payne kind of film, because it really is it's more of a character movie at the same time,
Sure. Well, and I got the link for that down here in the description. So if you guys want to rent that, the link's down here in the description, as well as all of Dave's social media links. They're all down here. So make sure you're following him, checking him out. He's got a lot of cool stuff coming up, and he's got a lot of cool stuff out right now. So follow him on social media to make sure you're catching up on everything that he's been doing. Before we get into your first horror movie, though, you were talking about comedy, and obviously I'm doing this as a horror fan, and you've done a lot of comedy, you've done a lot of horror. Do you have a preference on which one you would rather do?
I'd rather do both as good as I can. That's it. I really do enjoy both. I'm learning. I would say this: I'm a major student of comedy. When we talked about, you asked me in an email what was your first horror movie, but even before that, my first love was comedy. In that same avenue that I told you how I watched the first horror movie, which was on a projector in my basement. We also had reels and reels of the old black and whites of Laurel and Hardy, and the Little Rascals, and then also of course Three Stooges. So, and there was some Charlie Chaplin in there. I never really got into, which was funny because of The Devil's Rejects. I was never a huge fan of the Marx Brothers, right? And that one has so many Marx Brothers things in it, and it's just kind of funny that Rob wrote this whole Marx Brothers subplot, and I loved all these old comedies, and I wasn't a Marx Brothers, and I was more of like an Abbott and Costello, which, by the way, Abbott and Costello meet Frankenstein and those things too. How do you not love Abbott and Costello? You know, they didn't do the Marx Brothers meet Frankenstein, you know what I mean?
Right.
The Mummy and stuff. So I loved Abbott and Costello. So I was definitely brought up thinking I was going to be a comedic actor. I was going to be in movies from like, preschool on. I was the class clown. So let's put it that way. I was the class clown in preschool, kindergarten, first grade, second grade. I was suspended multiple times. I spent a lot of time at the principal's office and in the corners and the dunce cap. I did wear a dunce cap one time. Like, they don't even do that anymore. I came up when they still had that stupid cap. You know what I mean? Where there was rulers.
The pointed dunce cap.
Yeah, a lot of people are like, oh, he's the class clown, big deal. I paid with blood. They would hit you. They could hit you with the rulers then, you know what I mean? Or push you up against the blackboard. There was some form of punishment that I took to make my classmates laugh. So, I guess I just really realized this now. So, it wasn't like you could just be a class clown and nothing, there's no recourse. The class clown ends up at the principal's office. He ends up suspended. He ends up getting crap from his parents. You know what I mean? So
blood, sweat, and tears, man. You got to commit.
It is. So like, I look back at the id of like what I'm about, like making people laugh. And I guess it's always been there that the sort of like reward, risk, or punishment to it all had its values. And I am ready to be punished to make people laugh. I'm ready to, because I think that's important. I must have known that was important then, that making people laugh is important. And now I still do it. And hopefully it benefits people, because I do think that comedians serve a purpose in that kind of way. In terms of the horror aspect, I liked horror movies, and I don't think there's a difference between acting in a horror movie or acting in any movie, because you play the role. Whatever the role is, you play, my goal for what I would like to see happen at least in the next 10 years, because I don't have much time. I don't have much time, people. I don't want to tell my age, but I don't, at a certain point, you get kicked out of this business. So I'm just hanging in there right now. You know what I mean? I'm just like, I'm doing my best. I can't even, don't make me laugh. I don't like to smile, because I don't want to get any wrinkles here and stuff like that. But then I really have to wear a mask. I know, Ken, bear with me. But the one thing I would say would be, I would love an opportunity to get into some really good horror movies, the top tier. Because right now I've spent, what happened was this. Here's my horror career. I love, Scary Movie was a comedy, but at the same time, it was a comedy that was spoofing horror movies. So it naturally put my foot in that door. It opened up a little crack. And then Rob Zombie, he loves to have an eclectic cast. If you look at his movies, he loves to put comedic, because Rob has a great sense of humor. And so he likes to laugh on set and stuff. But he also understands that with his type of horror movies, they're so violent. He makes violent, I wouldn't call it gore, but he makes an uber violent, horror movies. And so with that, you have to hit the reset button. If there's a really violent scene, well, you want the audience to kind of settle back down. You can't have them like, the whole time. Then it's just, that's some of the problem with some of those Marvel movies, is all the action is like the whole time. And there's no they're starting to find that path. There's, with Guardians of the Galaxies and the new Spider-Mans, they're starting to find, oh, wait a second, we have to balance the action with more levity and comedic elements to kind of relax people and then get it back up. And that's the same thing with horror movies, is the comedic people in horror movies, or the levity type of people, they serve a purpose to kind of bring it back down a little bit so that it can come back up, because your heart rate can't be going the whole time.
Sure.
And so I got to do Devil's Rejects. And then when I did Devil's Rejects, a few years later, I got a call, hey, this convention wants you at this convention because we're going to do a Devil's Rejects reunion. and we're going to do these panels. And so I was unaware of any of that. Like, I knew Sid Haig was a big name in horror. I knew Bill Moseley from Texas Chainsaw Massacre and stuff like that. I knew there was other veterans of horror in the Devil's Rejects, but I didn't know this whole world of doing conventions and how there's an interactiveness with the hardcore horror fan base all around the country who are super loyal. And when I discovered that, then I said, well, this is different because there are no comedy conventions. There's no hardcore comedy people like Chris Kattan, Dave Sheridan, and Rob Schneider aren't sitting at tables together, you know, with lines of people saying, will you sign my banana peel and chicken? You know what I mean? They want machetes signed, you know what I mean? So, and I agree, that would be terrible. I wouldn't want to be in a, because you know what it would smell like? It would smell like old nachos, that convention.
I'm just gonna bring that up. You had that old nacho smell the whole time.
Exactly.
I just love the fact that you just said, will you sign my banana peel and sign my chicken? Like,
right.
That's brilliant, man. Like, that's so awesome.
And they're hard to sign. They're very hard to sign. So
slipping the whole time I'm trying to sign this
exactly. Yeah. The pen's running off. So when I discovered that, and I really, that was really what piqued more interest in horror films was, and also just sort of like I took a step back from doing the cons, because that was 2013, 2014. I said, well, let me go and shoot more horror movies. But also, one of the double-edged swords of horror movies, and it's a good thing and it's a bad thing. The good thing is horror movies tend to be lower budgets. Most of them, they tend to be shot for a lower budget with these investors thinking there's this upside that I'm going to have the next Paranormal, or I'm going to have the next Blair Witch, or whatever it is. Catch the lightning in the bottle. But at the same time, that's a good thing because movies get made. It's hard to get comedies made. On the negative side, though, is they are low budget, and it's also hard to make them good. It's hard to like put what's needed into any script, or the script suffers because it's got to be written down to the budget, or you know what I mean, or you don't have the amount of production days. We're making this movie in 7 days. We're making this movie in 14 days. You know what I'm saying? So that's that kind of like weird medium. And then to sort of jump in to say, well, I want to make them. Well, the ones that are available the most are going to be the lower budget ones, because they're every month there's one being made. If you're going to wait around for Dr. Sleep, you know, you could wait around for years for that. So I thought I just jump in and go, well, I want to get into the business these guys are doing, where they're making movies. And, you know, I'm learning on the fly. I came up making my own films and my own videos. So I know about guerrilla filmmaking. I know about run and gun and all the type of I know about low budget filmmaking, making my own props in the garage and stuff like that. So I'm totally comfortable with all that, with all these other filmmakers. But I'm never not a student of the game. So as I make each one of these films, I'm mostly an actor, but I'm watching, because I would love, eventually I'm going to write them and direct them and make them myself.
Right.
It's almost like I'm collecting the experience at the same time. But when you asked about my goal though is, no matter what it is, and I'll be frank here, it's tough. One thing I'm going to say is, some of these movies that I've made, some of these horror movies that are out now, or I would say I wouldn't give them a thumbs up. You know what I mean? If there's 5 stars, they'd get a 2.5. But it's also against my business to sit here and go, don't go see that movie man, it's shit. Right. So I'm trying to figure out, how do I promote something and be kind, but not but at the same time, let other fans know they're like, dude, I know this isn't that good, you know? So my thing though is, and just to say this to anybody watching, if there's some movies they watch, some of these horror movies coming out, and you're like, oh, that was kind of crappy. I'm not the director. I'm not the producer. I'm not the writer. I didn't write the script. If you're going to judge me, if you want to say Dave was terrible in that movie, then have at it. Hit me. I want that feedback, because then I let you down. But if you go and watch some of those movies, I think most people agree that he's trying to do his best.
Right.
Like, I don't ever want to mail it in, because I've been on some of these movies where there are some actors, and again, I'm not going to name their names, where they just mail in what they're going to do. They mail in the performance. There's no passion there. And so that's the one thing I'll never be a part of is if I'm showing up to set, because I love to sleep. By the way, I mean, I love to sleep, man. I love to be in my bed. I love to jerk off, then maybe have sex with my wife once in every 20 years, but then jerk off in between all that and watch monkeys jerking off and then jerk off more. I don't know, watching, hopefully my phone doesn't die, So,
that's where you film yourself jerking off, and then you jerk off to the video of yourself jerking off. Yeah, and then I've been there, man. I've been married 15 years, bro. I get it.
No, Ken, I have never done that, Ken. I'm sorry. I never filmed myself jerking off, but that's next level shit. I like where you're going. I like where you've been. I'd have to get insurance for my phone. How did you crack the screen again, sir? Well, I'm going to tell you how I cracked it. From 78 inches away. That's how I cracked it. I can't do that. I can't film myself because I won't be able to see the screen. It's so far away, Ken. Hello, ladies.
I get it. You're a luckier man than I got. I'm lucky these new iPhones have the zoom feature on them.
Yeah. So that's my thing, though, is I just, whatever role I get, I just want to dive into and make it worth it because I tell my friends, my wife, family members, I don't really, hey, if the movie isn't that good, my scenes are going to be good. I'm going to be able to cut together a reel and move it up the spectrum. And I think the fans will appreciate just that I'm somebody that jumps into something and tries to deliver every time. So when you said, are you more horror, more comedy? I am definitely a comedian, comedic actor. I came up, I started working at Saturday Night Live right out of college. That moved on to Second City in Chicago. Then I got my own show on MTV. All of this is comedy. So it was comedy until Scary Movie that got me Rob Zombie's movie. And that was the first legit horror movie. Now and by the way, in a lot of these horror movies of late, I've got 3 or 4 that are truly, wow, okay, this is no comedy. There's no comedy. And I really appreciate that. It's been fun to be able to get into those. Most of the stuff, though, is I'm the lighthearted sheriff or the deputy. I've been the deputy. Recently, I've been promoted to sheriff. And I'm going to do one called Shadow Marsh in January, and I'm the mayor. Because they asked me, well, they approached me and they said, we've got this role, you'd be the sheriff. And I go, no. I can't do any more sheriffs unless I get unless you throw me an original take on what that sheriff is going to be. And they go, well, there's also the mayor. And I'm like, I like that. I'm the mayor. Because I wanted to move up, political on the political thing, eventually to president. Eventually do
Well, January's still coming. I haven't heard anybody concede yet.
That's right. That's what I'm saying. And that's the thing is, it's not 2021. It's Doofy 2020. I got till December 31st.
That's right, baby.
Doofy doesn't give up. Doofy doesn't give up. That's the one thing you would know about Doofy. I mean, he killed a bunch of people and got away. He doesn't give up. He was picked on so much in that movie, but he never got down on himself. So that's the campaign that Doofy's running too. So it's going to be good. Yeah. Doofy's right there, by the way. He's in that backpack. That's his gun, his name tag, and his uniform's in his little backpack there. So. Yeah,
that's why the gun and everything's back there. He's making sure that Dave doesn't say too much.
Yeah, or I can reach for it really quick.
I mean, I do want to get it because we are kind of a special episode here, not just because it's 100, but because we're kind of morphing this a little bit because we're talking about your first horror movie, but we're really talking about 2 totally different experiences here because the first one you were really young, so I know it's hard to remember everything about it. So we're going to split this up a little bit, but the very first horror movie you watched was
Frankenstein, the 1931 Frankenstein. And I think that was who played Frankenstein?
I want to say Karloff.
Yeah, Boris Karloff, right? He was the Mummy and the Frankenstein.
Yeah.
And Lon Chaney Lon Chaney also played Frankenstein though too, right? At one point, I think.
But in the original one right here, it was Boris Karloff.
Yeah. Yeah. And he didn't do that makeup because Lon Chaney was a makeup artist. Lon Chaney did his own makeup. Mm-hmm. So yeah, the Boris Karloff one. Well, here's the thing. It was really the setting of what this was. It wasn't the complete film they were like short versions of each film. I had a 16 millimeter projector in my basement. My friends and I would all come over and we would play the movies. And so that one was actually a collection. It was Frankenstein 1931. There was the classic Wolfman. There was Creature from the Black Lagoon. And I think there was a mummy. So it was the universal monster collection, you know? Yeah. And one side note on that, which I didn't realize until you asked me what my first film that I remember watching was, which was this collection, but really I said Frankenstein, but it was also Creature of the Black Lagoon, the Mummy, and Wolfman. And I've done conventions with the Rico guy. His name's Rico. I forget his last name. He's 90 something, 94, 95 now. And he was the creature in the Black Lagoon. He was the underwater version because he was a scuba diving person. And I just recently did a convention with him in October. And I've never talked to him because he's not much of a talker. He's just a super, super little sweet guy. And but now I'm going to see him at Spooky Empire in December. And so I think I'm going to have to go out of my way and talk to him in some manner. I said hi to him at this last one, but with COVID and him being 94, I'm not really going near the guy, you know, but maybe I could probably stand some distance and chat with him. By the way, he doesn't really care about the COVID. And he's made that clear. That's why he's on the circuit doing all these, because he's 94 years old. So he's sort of like, I'm ready to go. He honestly, he said that. His wife of like 70 years just recently died like less than a year ago. Not of COVID, but she died of regular causes. So I think he's basically like, that's why he's out doing all these conventions. Like he's hoping that does kill him. You know what I mean? He's like,
to him, if it happens, it happens. Dude, if I live to be 94, fuck it. You know what I mean? Like go out doing what you love.
If you live to be 94 and you had a wife of, you know, your partner for so many years and then they die, I can imagine that it's just the life already comes out of you a little bit. You know what I mean? Right. So
I can totally see that as well.
But I can't wait to talk to him now that this came up. I'm going to be like, I got to get a photo with this guy.
Right.
That's pretty cool. He's kind of a rock star at these things because the creature, you know, people have purses and backpacks and the figurines.
I used to have this on VHS, the Universal Monsters. I mean, and this has all of it, man. It has Creature, Dracula, Wolfman, Bride of Frankenstein, Invisible Man, Phantom of the Opera. It has it all, man. And you can't go wrong with this. These still hold up today. I still love these just as much. And it would be amazing. I can't wait till cons come back to Michigan, man, because I'd love to go out there. And I hope that you come to the Midwest at some point so I can meet up with you. I'll talk to you more about that when we're done filming because I have a couple offers for you once we're done filming. But
awesome.
So this was kind of like your first one, but the first one that we're really going to talk about is your first cinematic experience.
That's right.
And it's a movie that terrified me as a kid. And it's such an honor to know that this movie did the same to you. So your first cinematic horror experience was
Jaws. That would be Jaws, 100%. And it was my son's also because they re-released it about 4 or 5 years ago. There was some sort of re-release, and that was the first time he saw it. He asked me to go see it, and I was like, awesome, because I remember seeing this in the movie theater. And when Jaws came out, though, that was a period where movies stayed in the movie theaters for a long time. You know, in general, they did because there wasn't that many. But that one was a true blockbuster, you know, and that was followed by the next thing like Star Wars or the Spielberg's next one, Close Encounters of the Third Kind, where they're in the movie for like a year and a half. Grease was in the theaters for 2 years. You know what I mean?
Right.
But Star Wars, the interesting thing about I'm sorry. Hold on, you're back. My thing said 20%. I might have. Do you have 1 minute? Hold on. 30 seconds.
Yeah, go ahead, man.
5 seconds. 28 seconds. Keep counting down. I'm gonna plug my phone in. Thank you for staying. We're gonna start over here.
No, you're totally fine, man. This is so awesome for me. I can honestly say I've never laughed this much doing this podcast. So I really appreciate you doing this with me, man, because it's such an honor. Like I could do this all night, man.
I'm glad I could make the 100 100 perfect for you. I gotta plug this in. Hold on a second.
Oh, go ahead, brother.
Really? For some reason, it's not plugging in. So that's a waste.
While we're waiting for Dave, guys, I do want to remind you once again, make sure you're clicking these links down here in the description. It's something that following him on social media, not only are you going to get to laugh a lot because the Doofy 2020 has been a really fun ride to watch, but you're going to learn about all the new stuff that he has coming up, all the things that he has released. So these are things that you're going to be able to watch and see the things that he's been doing. So make sure that you're clicking these links down here in the description, following him on social media. Something we all appreciate because, as he was saying, when you're working in indie film, you do a lot of Indiegogo work. There is a lot of ways that you can help to support the indie films that are coming out that we all love so much. So make sure you're going down here, checking all this out, trying to help get these indie films up and going. So welcome back, sir.
That didn't work, by the way, but thanks for the commercial. It was almost like taking a commercial break. I literally thought I could plug it in. Do you ever have that thing where there's certain phone cords that just don't work? Like this this one is like a 12-footer. I thought that would be great to buy for the bed, because you plug one in the bed and you're like, oh crap, and you're trying to do this thing and like your neck hurts in the morning because it's like you were like watching something but you were tethered to the thing. This thing, it's long, but for some reason it doesn't work with my phone. I don't know why.
That's all right, man. I don't want your phone to die out in the middle, so I'll just ask you a couple questions.
So we're going to talk really quick. Let's go back to Jaws. Let's go back to Jaws really quick. So to set that up, I lived in Falmouth, Massachusetts, Woods Hole by Cape Cod, when they were making Jaws. This was like 74, 75 or something like that. And I remember I was in preschool going into kindergarten. My dad was a marine biologist at Woods Hole in Cape Cod. And he was aware they were making this movie and brought me down to set. So I remember seeing some filmmaking getting done, but I didn't see the shark. But again, I told you I was interested in being in films and a comedian and stuff like that early on. And so when the movie came out, that was like a must see. It's like, this is the movie. We went to the set. And so I went to see that and I thought it was great. And it definitely, the most interesting thing about that is Jaws and why it hit something different than other horror movies is I don't think you and I have a phobia of Frankenstein coming through the thing. We could watch The Walking Dead or Night of the Living Dead or any one of the zombie movies, but we're not scared to go into a dark parking lot because we think all of a sudden there's zombies, Right. So that one definitely makes you afraid of going in the water, because it's a horror movie with the Michael Myers and the Jason character is a shark roaming this, it's unkillable in some
underwater slasher, man.
Yeah, it's the underwater slasher with the teeth, but it exists in real life. Mm-hmm. Like it's real. And you see people really getting killed by sharks. People get killed by crazy people as well. In the woods, but they don't make the news as much, and they're not natural. But I would say there was a section of woods that the mall was behind my house in the woods, and that's where the movie theater was. And we would go to the movies and have to walk back through these woods like on the weekends, and it was dark. And I definitely had a phobia for being in the woods because of a Friday the 13th or a Michael Myers. Like that was scary too. Like, oh crap, I do not want some lone killer guy hanging out in the woods, So that's just kind of creepy, they got to go to the bathroom at some point, right?
Right.
Has Jason ever had to stop and like, well, hold on, Jesus Christ, I shouldn't have that cup of coffee. Stay here. He's just taking a long whiz.
Hold this machete for a second. I'll be right back.
Kane Hodder pissed on me though. So I have been pissed on by Kane Hodder, who played Jason. I don't know if you know Kane Hodder. Yeah. Because we did a Hatchet 4, which is called Victor Crowley. He plays Victor Crowley. And we're all in an airplane that's crashed. That's about less than halfway through the movie, like page 25. Now we're all trapped inside this sinking airplane as it's filling up with water, and he's trying to get in and kill us. But the water was real. We're in this lake, and Kane was like, I gotta go. He had to go to the bathroom. We're inside. And he's just like outside pissing in the Victor Crowley thing. He really had to piss. He's like, oh shit, I gotta piss. And Kane is like, he's a dude that will pretty much piss anyway if he wanted to. But he's a very frank kind of person. He's a great guy. Yeah. But he's that kind of guy that if he says something, it's the truth. That's what it is. So, hey man, I gotta take a piss. And he just takes a piss, and I realize that he's pissing in the water that we're in. I'm like, Kane, and they're circulating the water through. I go, we're all getting pissed on by Kane right now. You know what I mean? He's like, and it was one of those really long pisses, and he knew it, with like multiple, like those naked gun breaks of like, like you think it's over, and then it's another stream of pee.
Austin Powers.
Yeah, the Austin Powers. That's what it was. I knew I just recently saw that in something where they keep pissing, right? Yeah.
So back to Jaws. I do want to ask you which scene do you think affected you the most from Jaws?
Affected me in which way? As an actor or as in a scary way?
In a scary way.
Probably two scenes. One was the scene where the kid, and it's not his son, but the kid is, I don't think it's his son. Maybe his son is the one frozen there, where the kid gets eaten in the bay. And then the one kid's just frozen, scared, and then probably the other one would have just been the nighttime. The first time Richard Dreyfuss goes down and gets the tooth out of underneath the thing, and then he sees the body underneath there. That's like a what do you call it, a ghost jump or jump scare or something like that. It's like boom, the classic jump scare thing. The underwater lights and stuff. I mean, water at night is scary. Yeah. So
absolutely.
And I'll tell you one, what I like about Jaws though, and that's what made it a blockbuster. And that's what made Steven Spielberg really not a hard director, but just he could direct anything. The guy went on the Schindler's List and, Saving Private Ryan, et cetera, was the part where the guys have the inner tube and the meat and the big hook, and they throw it out at the end of the dock. And then it gets taken, and they're like, we got him. And then the dock gets taken.
Yes.
And they're hanging on the dock, and they're falling in. They're all fat, and they've got the heavy clothes. So one guy's trying to swim back, and the dock starts, the thing floating is that dock, and it starts to turn around. And then, don't look back, swim. And it's this thing, and it's coming. And then he finally gets up the thing, and then it just kind of like just drifts in, the thing to stop. And so it was like, he had this Laurel and Hardy aspect, because that's really what they were. They were the classic two comedian Laurel and Hardy guys, idiots. And he had the real scare going, but it was that also he was selling the comedy at the same time. And that's what's really cool about that versus what I was going to tell you with my comedy stuff in horror movies was that's one where it works both ways, where you're selling the comedy at the same time you're selling this old shit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And, I think that's one of the things we did pretty good in that Adam Green does pretty good is he can make things funny, but also sort of like, thrilling and scaring at the same time. But my service to a lot of horror movies is the levity aspect of here's a moment like this, and then comedy serves as a reset. And we've already had that conversation, but so that, that answers your question. But my favorite scene in Jaws, and I would assume, I think everybody would probably say it's their favorite scene, is when the Quint character, they're all sitting underneath after like he's already ravaged the ship and they've damaged the generator and the engine or whatever, and they're getting drunk and they're showing all their scars, and then he tells the story of the Indianapolis, how they all went in. I don't remember how many he said, 6,000 men went in the water that day. Only 1,000 came out or whatever, right? You know what I mean? Drifting along, and it was like the tiger sharks, I think it was, or something like that. And his buddy was bobbing in the water. Like it's just the dramatic, like that monologue is just classic. And then that part where he says, "Black as a doll's eyes," and it rolls.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's like one of the best scenes in any movie. Across the board. So.
And I was gonna say that's that whole scene because they were drinking. They were actually drinking on set.
Right.
And so a lot of that scene was improvised because he was just drunk and rambling, but it worked so well.
Yeah.
Usually I say I'm going to go scream on you at this point, but since it's you, I'm going to go doofy on you here for a second.
Okay.
What's your favorite scary movie? What is your favorite horror movie? We talked about Jaws and Frankenstein kind of being your first, but if you had to choose your favorite horror movie of all time, what's your choice?
Yeah, if I had to choose a horror movie that I would say if I could only own one Blu-ray, et cetera, I would probably say The Shining. I'd probably say The Shining. I mean, that's a masterpiece as well. And I remember watching that over and over. There's very little comedy in that. There are comedic moments in it. And even Jack Nicholson has some great comedy stuff in it. But his performance, I mean, just like he knocks it out of the park. The woman from Popeye, Shelley Duvall. I hate to say it, but she's creepy looking. You know what I mean? She's kind of creepy looking. It's like the kid, the red rum, and but there's some real scary moments in that. It's a creepy movie, but it's like so well done. I mean, again, because it's and that's the thing. We just mentioned two movies that are like, these are rarities, and they do make high-end horror movies still today, but they don't do anything close to that.
When you're talking, even with Jaws, something I've talked about on the podcast a lot, I always bring up Jaws, I always bring up Halloween, and I always bring up Star Wars. When you talk about these movies, sometimes the score is more well known than the movies, and everybody knows the Jaws theme, everybody knows the Halloween theme, everybody knows the Imperial March from Star Wars, and that to me is also a great sign of how well your movie is made, to where people are remembering the score. People that don't even care about music in general enough to remember a score. You can't go in the water without hearing someone doing the dun.
Yeah.
And that to me is absolutely brilliant, and same thing with Halloween. Everybody knows the Halloween piano lick.
Yeah. And same thing with, I would say Friday the 13th too. It's like, because when I go in the woods at night, I always do that. Like, or I go camping with my kids and I'm always doing the,
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I'm always doing that. So it's like, yeah. I mean, John Carpenter's, he's a master. His first love is music. He still scores movies now at his age. That's one of the things he'll do. You can call him up and probably get him for your movie because he wants to do that.
And he still does innovative things, like in the new Halloween, the Blumhouse, the 2018. Yeah. There's a scene where he takes a guitar and he took a violin bow and ran it across the distorted guitar to get the sound of when you first see Michael Myers. And like, that's how brilliant this guy is he's still thinking of what can I do different that hasn't been done yet to enhance this film.
Yeah, for sure. And I would say, and I don't watch too many commentaries, but his commentaries are really good. They're really good because he talks about filmmaking in them, sort of addressing filmmaking challenges. Like, you can definitely listen to commentaries of Steven Spielberg, but the guy's really had a budget for everything he's done. And John Carpenter, his movies have always been under budgeted, whether it's They Live or The Thing or, Escape from New York. So even though those aren't horror, some of them aren't horrors. Like I love The Thing, by the way. But say They Live, he didn't have much of a budget, and he'll talk about how he looped all the cop cars and how he shot it this way and then that way, down this aisle, down that aisle, but it's the same 3 cop cars, but he made it look like 50. You know what I mean? And
I love hearing that on commentary. One of the biggest pet peeves of mine listening to commentary are the people that are just explaining to you the movie. Like, I'm watching the movie, I want you to tell me stuff that I don't know. And
exactly.
You're right. John Carpenter has a great way of doing that.
He does, right? You agree then, yeah. So,
absolutely.
So I'm saying out there to people that are sort of like trying to be filmmakers or aspiring filmmakers, or you've even gone to film school, definitely get the John Carpenter stuff and whatever ones are commentaries and watch those. I think Mel Brooks on the comedy side, go watch the Mel Brooks ones, because these guys have a lot to say about what they were thinking, why something got done that way, what they wanted to do, but they couldn't do. It's like I love like hearing that stuff. So, and again, that goes back to these low budget horror movies that I'm doing. And that's why I stopped doing the cons. And this year, 2020 was supposed to be, I was going to hit them hard. My first one was Days of the Dead in Atlanta in February, but I was booked in 2 in March, 1 in April, 1 in May, 1 in June, and they all went away. So that was going to be me hitting the ground. I think I've done 4. So I did 3 recently in September and October. And my next one's December. And then I think they'll start to open up once we get through this second surge of this virus. But there is a virus, the vaccine's coming. The politics is going to dwindle down. It's creating a lot of the situation, so exactly. Yeah.
Well, my wife's a respiratory therapist, man. So when people start talking to me about the hoaxy type stuff, it just really gets under my skin because I've had to hear my wife tell stories about people that haven't made it. So yeah, that's a conversation that I just let people, it goes in one ear and out the other because I know what really happens in those hospitals. I got to see it on my wife's face when she comes home. So, wear your mask, people, social distance, keep yourself and your family safe. That's all I ask. Just have some common sense, wash your hands, please. Little things like that you're supposed to be doing anyway.
The two big things is wash your hands. Definitely wash your hands. Don't touch your eyes. Don't touch your mouth. And then just like you're saying, don't be a close talker. I just had my neighbor. He kept coming closer and closer to me, and I'm like, backing off of him. So it's so funny. For me, it hasn't affected me too much because I am a bit of a hermit. I really don't like people too much, So. And wearing a mask is great because I don't like to be, this is great. I'm already like, people don't really recognize me too much because of all my characters, but now I can wear the bandana mask and stuff like that. And I could say whatever I want. I say all sorts of stuff. I throw my voice that way that they're like, who said that? You know what I mean? It's like, I do different voices.
Oh, dude, I got to hang out with you one day, man. Just one day with you would be fucking phenomenal. I can just see it.
It's like, I might be the one guy in America that's like going to be bummed. Like, what do you mean I got to take this off? I can't talk behind people's back now? Give me one great. More. Look at that fucking chick. Can I get one more?
I didn't get the vaccine.
Yeah, exactly.
So I do always end these, sir, with the same question. We always end it with a skull count. We're going back to Jaws, 0 skulls being the worst, 5 being the best. You can use half and quarter skulls if you would like. What would you rank Jaws on a scale of 0 to 5 on how it affected your life?
I would say a 4. I would say a 4.
That's a fair answer.
4. Yeah.
Because like you said, we're all scared to go in the water because of that. And it's one of those movies to me that I showed my son and he was just like, how did this scare you? And I'm like, you got to understand, practical effects from my day are not the same as the practical CGI effects that you have today, the way that they blend it all together nowadays. And I think that I'm glad that Bruce the Shark malfunctioned as much as it did, because if you would have seen the shark as much, it wouldn't have been scary.
Yeah, you would have had something closer to a Roger Corman movie, which Spielberg came out of the Corman situation. So, or where he got his opportunity. Same thing with Ron Howard. But really quick, on that Jaws thing, because I just remembered this. I told you how my son saw it, and then he wanted to go see it. He's watched it so many times. He's gone as Sheriff Brody for Halloween, and we had a thing at our school, and I think he was in first grade. He was in first grade. So now he's in 7th. So what is that? 6-7 years ago? Yeah. And they have a rock. They have this big rock out in front of the school. And when it's your birthday, you have to go ahead though, because it fills up fast. Excuse me. But you get to paint the rock. You get to paint the rock, and it's your rock for the day. Anything you want. And he said, I said, okay, what do you want? I got it on your birthday. And what do you want? And his birthday's around Halloween. He always celebrates at Halloween, his birthday. So he has a Halloween-esque thing built into him. Sure. And he loves it's. Maybe that's why he likes the horror movies. I don't know. But he said he wanted Jaws. So I painted the shark. I painted a kid. The guy was getting his leg bit off, and there's blood everywhere, and you see the bone. And because when I do it, I do it. That's just me. I do everything. This is
Go out, man.
You think, yeah, I'm like, I am that walking sitcom of, oh, you got to fertilize the grass. Well, I'm the guy that kills the grass with the fertilizer because I over fertilize it. You know what I mean? You want steak? I bring the cow, you know? So, but so I painted this thing and luckily I got photos of it. I didn't, you can start painting the rock at 4 p.m. You get it from 4 p.m. to 4 p.m. the next day. That's when the next parent can start painting the rock. But now October 24th and 25th in that area, that's when it's starting to get dark. It's a little bit before daylight savings time, but it's dark around 5:30, 6 o'clock.
Sure.
And so I knew I only had like an hour and a half to paint this thing, and I still had to put my car lights on and paint it. So I didn't really get good photos with him on it. And so I was like, oh, I'll come up there after school and we'll take photos. Well, they called me. I saved the messages. I made my wife pick up, but I saved the recordings because they're pretty funny, because they complimented me on my artistry. They said it was a beautiful rock, but we've had a lot of complaints. This was just in the morning. This was 7:30. This thing didn't even last a half hour. I had the Jaws rock and they said, we're getting a lot of complaints, so we're going to paint over it. Right. And I go, what? But your artistry is so good. And have you had an opportunity to take I didn't get a chance to take photos of it with my son. And they're like, okay, well, here's what we're going to do. We're going to put a white sheet over it, and then we'll paint over it after school once you get the photos with your son. So, but that makes it even funnier because like the white sheet is like at the morgue, it's like a dead body. So like, and it makes it even stick out anymore. Like now parents are passing, they're like, what's the white sheet? What is this? Like, no one can see it, because when just like with the COVID thing where it's like, oh, I'm sorry, folks, stay inside. You can't go to the gym. All of a sudden, everyone wants to go to the gym.
I got to go lift.
Yeah, the tennis courts are closed. Everyone wants to play tennis, And so like, that was the thing. They covered up with the white sheet and it was like, everyone was like, what's behind it? What's behind it? Like, oh, let me just look. Oh, so it was more people, like that rock was more famous than it would have ever been because they tried to censor it, So Here's the thing. I can find that rock. I don't know when do you put this on?
This will be, I'll get an exact date for you and I'll text you when we're done.
Okay. But it's not tomorrow, right?
No.
Yeah. So I'll send you that rock as part of the story because I think it plays into like people going, oh, he's making that up about Jaws. You know what I mean? Like right. That really was, well, look, if you're my age, I'm 51. If you were 5 or 6 or 7, you couldn't get around Jaws in the first place because again, there was like 5 movies out the whole year, and that it was more than just a horror movie. It was the birth of blockbusters. There would be no Indiana Jones. There would be no Star Wars if there was no Jaws. Really, it seems like a stretch, but it's the truth that started the idea of a blockbuster. All of these, in a weird way, it killed cinema in a weird way because you see how the Marvel movies take over. And it just limits down how many seats are for, say, a Get Out. By the way, sure. We talk about modern filmmaking, like Get Out. That's the you've seen that film, right?
Oh,
Get
absolutely,
Out?
Absolutely.
Those are the ones. That's like to me at the top. Like I want to get to that point if you consider that a horror movie. That's more like a thriller.
Yep, that's a terrifying movie, man.
Right.
I don't know if do you own the Blu-ray of that?
I do, yeah.
The alternate ending gets me every time, man.
Okay. I haven't watched it.
Check it out.
To let you know about the Blu-rays, I'm in the Producers Guild and I'm in the Screen Actors Guild. So you get an option to go Blu-ray or regular. So they just get sent to me. But if I already have it on like the TV, like through Netflix or something, I don't even open them up. So I never really thought of that. Like that, I didn't know there was an alternate ending on it. So now I got to watch it.
It'll blow your mind, man.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah. Well, Jordan Peele is, he's genius. You know what I mean?
Absolutely genius.
I try to shut off my texts, but they keep coming in. I don't know what that's about. I thought I did. I put the airplane mode, the mood mode, or like the little mood thing. They're still coming through. So I apologize because you guys don't see it.
Right.
it's like me doing this, like like I'm conducting a band in front of me or something like that.
Totally fine, man. Yeah, before your phone dies, don't go anywhere. I got a couple more questions for you. Everybody else, thank you so much for joining us. Dave, you are such a gentleman. It's been such an amazing time talking to you. Like I said, don't go anywhere. I got a couple more questions for you. Everybody else, here's to another 100 episodes. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, I would love to be, by the way, I would love to be back at 200. I don't know, maybe you're having back a little bit earlier, 150.
I would love to. Me and my wife do a couple other offshoots of Sledgehammer Horror that I would love to have you back on.
Well, here's the thing. We touched on me having a bunch of these sort of like 2.0 after I discovered the horror community and the horror conventions and got in with, like, I've been doing a lot of movies with Felissa Rose, Mosley, Kane Hodder. So these films are just coming out. Some of them are okay. Like I told you, the special, I'm really excited about. I think that's one that's like fits, like it's not the best movie in the world, but for the budget and the kind of getting into that kind of more of a thriller, more of that kind of like what was it, the Body Snatchers one? The
Invasion of Body Snatchers. Yeah,
that, and just got kind of Hitchcock kind of vibe. Like it's just it's more of a story. It's more about relations than it is. There's not a kill count. You know what I mean? There is some kills, but it's not like one of those kill count movies. But I really liked it, and I'm hoping to do more of that stuff. But I have a lot of the other ones coming out. But what I could do is send you a list, or you could just look at my IMDb and go, well, let's watch a bunch of these. And then you and I come back on, and we can go through each one of them and discuss each one of those and see how my horror, sort of the new horror direction, is what I'm doing in horror films, how that's progressing and stuff like that. Because again,
that would be such an honor for me.
Like, you're a fan of horror, and the people watching it are horror fans. So we're not pulling the wool over everyone's eyes. We all know if there's a crappy one or what's crappy about it. You know what I mean? Yeah. And then, but there's also something enjoyable. Like, let me give you one, for instance. There's one out right now in Europe, but it's not here. And it's called Big Freaking Rat. And I played the exterminator brought in to get rid of the rat. It's basically the Jaws of rats. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And it's a pure creature feature because there's no CG. They made a giant rat with 3 guys in the rat with the blood and putting the Vaseline.
So awesome.
So it's sort of that, it's a lot of that rat POV with, you just see the arms and the thing, coming like, that kind of stuff. Yeah. But I saw reviews where people reviewed it like a real movie, and it's called Big Freaking Rat. Like, it's Big Freaking Rat, and I'm playing an exterminator guy, like with the spray thing, trying to kill it. What did you expect? It's like,
right.
Like, it's for people that understand that class of movie. That's a creature. It's that Saturday afternoon creature feature movie with the real practical rat, which is,
sure, it's
not Sharknado where it's just bad CG, So
you want to have fun with this one. That's one of those ones.
Right. So it's a fun movie. They called me about that one and pitched it to me. I'm like, I'm in, because believe it or not, I don't have an opportunity to make too many movies where someone's actually going to make a 7-foot, 8-foot rat with 3 guys getting in it. That's the part that's like, that's unique. And I love unique stuff, And that's the one thing with my career is I've always been attracted to the unique stuff, whether it's Ghost World or Bubble Boy. Bubble Boy was kind of a messed up, fucked up movie in a real way. It was so weird. You know what I mean? I was like we did like a Land of the Lost thing in it and stuff. I love doing that stuff. So yeah. So anyway, people of Sledgehammer, I hope I come back. I hope I passed the test here. And I'm going to tell you about my second and my third horror movie. One of them, I got to second base. Because by the way, the big stretch of the 80s, and we know that's the prime of especially the slasher and horror movies. Yeah. But we're also talking about, that's my boner period time of you. That's when you sat in the very back. And hopefully you're making out and squeezing, getting your hands down some pants and some popcorn at the same time.
Oh, you're scared? Don't worry, I'll hold you and make sure
exactly.
It's okay.
Exactly. So like the Freddy Krueger ones. I couldn't tell you the Nightmare movies. Because I was literally with chicks at every one of those, I'm paying attention to that. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, I'm drinking some Boone's Farm and trying to get a little like nookie. You know what I mean?
So awesome.
Yeah.
Boone's Farm and Nookie. Dude, I'm just gonna like call you every day to cheer me up.
Exactly. What part of the Midwest are you in? What do you think?
Michigan.
Oh, Michigan. Right. What part of Michigan?
I'm in Adrian, Hudson area. It's down here. I'm about a half hour north of Toledo.
Yeah, I didn't know Toledo existed anymore.
Yep. It's still down there. Toledo, Ohio. It's still there.
Back in all those old movies I was telling you about, Toledo was always a big player. You know, they had a baseball team. Toledo was always like, the Bugs Bunny cartoons always talked about Toledo. And now it's like, man, like even though it's a no player in the presidential race. Like they don't even make a stop at Toledo. I don't think. What do they do in Toledo? Yeah, I shot a movie in which way is Michigan? Is that Michigan or is this Michigan? Which one did you? This is Michigan. Right, the right hand is Michigan. Yeah,
I think. Yeah, okay. Right hand.
I think I was in Flint. Where's that? Right there, maybe. Shot a movie called All's Fair in Love with Christina Ricci, and it was fun. That was my only real a couple of days in Detroit. You know, I might have spent like 2 or 3 times in Detroit, but sure. You want to forget about that. Most people do.
Yeah, right. See, I can't front, man. I'm a Michigan boy, Detroit boy.
Good.
Big Detroit Tiger fan. Besides horror movies, baseball is kind of like my biggest passion in the whole world besides horror movies.
Yeah. Well, they're always kind of in it. You know what I mean?
Until the last couple of years, but we'll get back.
Yeah, they had that one coach from he was like in Pittsburgh for a while, then he was like in Florida. I forget his name, but he came in and did pretty well with you guys.
Jimmy Leland.
Yeah. Leland, yeah.
He's Jimmy like Smokes.
He's that classic baseball coach. You know what I mean?
He's the guy that told Barry Bonds, I don't give a fuck who you are. This is my team.
I had a show, Buzzkill, on MTV, and we did, one of our shows was in Detroit, and we went to the Detroit Tigers, the stadium, which is the newer stadium. I think they just built it around that time.
Comerica Park.
Yeah. And we did a thing where it's like, I forget who they were playing. I don't remember who they were playing. Might have been the Milwaukee Brewers. I'm just guessing. But we painted the car up like it was the Brewers, right? And then we had people smash the car in the parking lot. And we're videotaping this with, like hidden cameras. And we're like, yeah, smash the car. And then people are jumping on it and hammering it and stuff like that. But then one of our other actors came and acted like it was his car, and we would like disappear, like, oh shit. And the person caught with the sledgehammer was like, oh man, I didn't know, right? And like, this is my car. And he's crying and stuff like that. But what was funny about Detroit is, it kind of backfired because we left like the sledgehammer in like the guy's hand. He smashed the car, and the guy goes, oh my God, my car. And he goes, fuck you and your car. And he was keep smashing it. And we're like, oh, we picked the wrong place to do this joke in Detroit, man. They don't actually care.
That's my hometown, man. That's all my boys. That's great, man. Well, hold on. Like I said, there's certain things I want to ask you before your phone dies. Everybody else, please keep talking horror. Stay what you are. I promise you, Dave will be back, and we'll see you guys soon.